Today we're going to start learning about volume, volume of different objects. And when we're doing volume, among other things, formulas are very important. So we want to decide and determine why formulas are important in math and also in science. Today, your I can statement is to find the volume of cylinders and cones. Mostly today we'll focus on cylinders and cones will come later. And then we want to know what's the difference between finding the volume of a cone and finding the volume of a cylinder. How are the formulas similar and how are they different? So today in class, you're going to do your bell work. You should have completed the Are You Ready at the beginning of the chapter. And then we're just going to take a look at volume of a cylinder. And when you're done with working through all those got it problems, you're going to do the guided practice, independent practice, and then some Khan Academy. But let's talk about the volume of a cylinder. I was just thinking of objects that were cylinders, and one of my students gave me a can of Pringles the other day, cylinder. I love Diet Coke, had one yesterday, it's a cylinder. Got a jar of peanut butter in my classroom. I don't really know why, but I do. That's a cylinder. And just the other day, it was my birthday. Birthday cake can also be shaped as a cylinder. So there's lots of objects that you can relate to that are shaped as cylinders. So how do we find the volume of a cylinder? So what do we mean by volume? Well, volume is how much you can fit inside an object. So do you see this blue cylinder on the screen? Finding the volume is maybe how much water could we pour inside that cylinder? All right, how much could it hold? Well, how do we do that? Well, the volume of a cylinder, you calculate the volume, V, so V will represent volume of a cylinder with the radius R and the area of the base B, and we multiply that by the height. So you need three things, okay? You need three things. To find the volume, you need to know what pi is. Luckily, it was just Pi Day not so long ago. You all got oatmeal cream pies, and we all know pi is 3.14. The next thing you need to know is the radius, okay? A cylinder, if you notice here, the base of a cylinder is always a circle, all right? And we're going to need to know the area of the circle. And in order to do that, we need to know the radius. So the radius is half of the diameter. So diameter would be all the way across, and the radius would be halfway across. Now remember, we need the radius. So if they give you the diameter, you got to divide it by 2. We need the radius. The next thing we need is we need the height of the cylinder, okay? So those are the three things we need. All right, so if you look at example 1 on page 590, they tell us that this cylinder has a radius of 5 centimeters and has a height of 8.3 centimeters. All right, so do we have all the things that we need? Well, it looks like we do, because pi is still 3.14, the radius is 5, and the height is 8.3. So now what do we do with those things? Well, all we have to do is we have to multiply to find the volume. We multiply, as the formula over here suggests, pi, which is 3.14, times the radius squared. So we're going to have 5, and we're going to square it, and then we're going to times that by 8.3. Okay, now it's just a matter of doing some math. All right, if I have 5 squared is the same as 5 times 5. So we know that's going to equal 25. So now we have V equals 3.14 times 25 times 8.3. All right, so now we do 3.14 times 25 times 8.3, and we end up with the volume of 651.55. All right, And this volume has to have a unit. All right, so we were dealing with centimeters and volume, so it's going to be centimeters. And remember, volume is always cubed. So the volume of this cylinder is 651.55 centimeters cubed. Okay, let's try another example. All right, in this example, the radius is going to be, let's go with 5.5, and let's say the height is 9. So once again, let's think about the formula here, which is the volume equals pi times r squared h. So let's substitute what we know. I know that pi is 3.14. I know the radius is 5.5. So 5.5, and remember that has to be squared. And I know the height is 9, so we'll multiply by 9. Okay? So now it's just a matter of doing the calculations. So if I do 5.5 squared, I get 30.25. And then I'm still going to multiply that by 9 and 3.14. And when I do multiply it by 9 and 3.14, I get 854. And I believe it may have said round to the nearest tenth. And so that would be 854.9. Once again, we're dealing with centimeters. So our unit is centimeters cubed. Okay? So pretty straightforward. You know what pi is. Find out what the radius is. Find out what the height is. Plug them into that formula and solve. All right? Excellent job. Now, this is an example. The next example, example 2, is what I alluded to earlier, and that is sometimes they give you the diameter. So now they're telling us we have a cylinder with a height of 20, and this time it's inches. So that's good. We don't know the radius. We know that pi is still 3.14, but they do tell us that the diameter equals 16. All right, now if you have a hard time visualizing this, feel free to draw a cylinder. If you need to draw a cylinder, that's fine. And you can draw these in. So for example, we know that's 20. They tell us that all the way across is 16. So that's going to help me visualize. So I know that halfway across then must be 8. So now I know that my radius is 8. And now go through the exact same process as before. I do volume equals 3.14 times the radius, which is 8. Remember, we knew that it was 8 because it was half the diameter. That radius has to be squared times 20. And if we multiply all those together, we will find that the volume equals 4,021.2. And remember, we're dealing with inches this time, so inches cubed. Okay? All right, what I would like you to try to do is I would like you to try the got it problems on your own at this time.